Hey everybody, welcome back to Omens. I'm your host Ryan, AM Air Pronouns, and this is episode 55, the planet Jupiter. I gotta give a shout out to my intern Vivian for helping with the research on this. Made my life so much easier. Thank you. Appreciate you. Alright, so I don't have any other housekeeping to do, so let's go ahead and dive into it. So, Jupiter is the fifth planet from the Sun. It is the largest planet in the entire solar system. In fact, it's so big that you could take all of the other planets in the solar system, put them together, and Jupiter would still be about 2.5 times bigger. So, it is the third brightest object in the night sky, and it is named after the Roman king sky god, basically. So, it's named after the king of the gods and king of the Roman gods, Jupiter, who is also a sky god because we apparently like our sky gods as our rulers, as our kings. It is about, so taking the Earth as a unit of measurement, take 11.3 Earths and wide. That is how big Jupiter is wide. And then it is as tall as 10.5 Earths, and it has the mass of 317.8 Earths. It has 80 known moons, and is the fastest spinning planet. It rotates in about 10 hours. So basically it's got a 10-hour day. That's a very, very short day. But because it rotates so fast, it gives the planet an equatorial bulge. So basically, instead of a nice round sphere, it kind of at the middle because it's spinning so fast that everything's just flying outwards. In the middle, it's just like all right, which is kind of cool. It's cool. It's hilarious. It orbits the sun every 11.86 Earth years, which most of us equal down to about, which averages out to about 12 years. So your Jupiter return happens about every 12 years. So basically when you have a planet return in your astrological natal chart, it's when it comes back to the exact same point it was when you were born, which with the moon happens about every 30 days, sun happens every year, and you can even do a solar return chart on your birthday to see kind of like what the energy of your next year is going to be like. And then I know the one that gets a lot of talk about is the Saturn Return, because that happens every about 29 to 30 years, and it is a big one because it's a lot longer, so it has more of an impact. Same thing kind of with Jupiter, every 12 years or so, that's when your Jupiter comes back around. So it's a bit more of an impact. Usually that's when your benefic comes out, because Jupiter tends to be a, here, have all the candy. Saturn is a, well, what shit have you been getting up to, and how can we fix it? So that's why it's a little bit more, ooh, we don't like, because that's when the taskmaster comes to call. Venus, Mars tend to be about as the same amount as the Sun, so less impact. Mercury, very, very little impact. But yeah, so Jupiter's a little bit more impactful, but we don't really talk about it as much because it tends to just be everything is good. When Saturn comes back around, however, that's why we talk about it more, because it's like, oh, this is like every 30 odd years, and it's the taskmaster comes to call. After that, however, we don't tend to have planetary returns, I believe, because Uranus, Neptune, and especially Pluto are a little too far out and take too long to orbit. We're usually dead by the time they come back around. Case in point, the fact that this year is the very first Pluto return for the United States. So I did the calculations. 245 years later, Pluto is coming back to the point it was at when the United States was born, which we're putting as most people agree, approximately the signing of the Declaration of Independence as the actual, quote, birth. So If you take it to mean another date, it's probably not exactly right, but either way. Alright, so the axial tilt of Jupiter is only 3.13 degrees, so it's got very little seasonal shift. I mean, it's also a gas planet, so, well, I mean, I guess a gas planet could have seasons, but basically it's got very little bit. So, due to its not, but speaking of it being a gas planet, due to its not being a solid body, the upper atmosphere experiences differential rotation, so as the polar rotation is 5 minutes longer than the equatorial rotation. So basically the atmosphere, because Jupiter spins so fast, the equator bulges out, so the equator spins a lot faster than the two poles do, about 5 minutes difference, which is hilarious. So basically, if you decided to if you had a bunch of people living on Jupiter, not only would the time difference between the poles and the equator be like here on Earth where the hours are different, but the minutes would be different too. You think it's bad when you're like, what time is it, like, say, here in Arizona between my family in Alaska? I'm like, there's a 2-hour time difference, right? Well, given the fact that I'm closer to the equator and they're closer to the poles, 2 hours is easy enough. It's be like, oh, it's 8 here, so it's 6 there. Okay, whatever. If we were on Jupiter, however, I'd be like, okay, it is 8 here, so it is 1:55 there. Or, sorry, no. 5:55 there. It's like you'd have to take out 5 minutes or add 5 minutes. It'd be horrible. It'd be much more math. Much more math. So that is amusing. All right. But now, granted, that's only upper atmosphere, so it might not be as true if you get... So basically, if you were living in the upper atmosphere of Jupiter, I suppose. The atmosphere mass is about 75% hydrogen. So I say mass because there is a difference. I just did the mass for this, but I did a little extra digging into it, but... yeah, basically the atmospheric content differentiates between whether there's mass, whether it's by mass or by a couple other things. Okay, so I did I went and looked it up real fast. So the composition of the atmosphere, it gets interesting. So it's about 90% hydrogen and 10% helium by volume. So, since helium atoms are more massive than hydrogen molecules, Jupiter's atmosphere is approximately 75% hydrogen, 24% helium by mass, with the remaining 1% consisting of other elements. The trace amounts of methane, water vapor, ammonia, silicon-based compounds, also fractional amounts of carbon, ethane, hydrogen sulfide, neon, oxygen, phosphine, and sulfur. The outermost layer of the atmosphere contains crystals of frozen ammonia. Stinky. Through infrared and ultraviolet measurements, trace amounts of benzene and other hydrocarbons have also been found. The interior of Jupiter contains denser materials. By mass, it is roughly 71% hydrogen, 24% helium, and 5% other elements. So, yeah, so you have to go based off both mass and volume. Alright, so about 3 kilometers deep, you finally hit about the mantle. The atmosphere doesn't really have a clear boundary because it's a gas planet. There's really no solid surface. So the boundary between, basically the planet just slowly becomes denser as you get farther inwards. And the core and, yeah, the mantle, core, and atmosphere have no clear boundary. So it's like, there is a mantle, I suppose, but the place just slowly gets denser. So, let me see. There's a picture here. We like pictures. Alright, so they're about there's the cloud layers, which are about 50 kilometers thick. Gaseous hydrogen, liquid hydrogen, helium, neon rain, metallic hydrogen, and then a rock and ice core. So basically the mantle is more hydrogen. But yeah, so basically the planet just goes from gas to liquid to ice. That's about it. That's why it's a gas planet. But it's pretty cool. Some fun, interesting facts about Jupiter. It's theorized to possibly be the oldest planet in the solar system, with thoughts that either it, there's theories that have been sort of disproven, but they can't really be proven or disproven, so they're kind of if that it was what helped form some other planets. It used to be bigger and stuff broke off or what have you, but at the very least it's theorized to be the oldest planet in the solar system. Oh, and it also has blue lightning in its upper atmosphere, which is known as fairies or sprites, which is kind of cool. I just thought that was a neat little fact. Thank you, Viv. Alright, or Vivian. The great red spot on Jupiter we see, I'm pretty sure most of us know, it's a storm that has been raging on Jupiter since at least the 17th century and is larger than Earth. That's a big storm. It's just been kind of slowly moving over the planet. Alright, that's all the fun science facts. Moving into the astrology. Jupiter in astrology is the ruler of Sagittarius and the 9th house. It governs growth, expansion, healing, prosperity, good fortune, optimism, miracles, and abundance. Jupiter is known as the greater benefic for all of these reasons, because it's basically the kindly old grandfather that's just constantly giving out candy, and the parents are like, would you stop, they're gonna get rotten teeth, and the kids are like, more, 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 and the grandfather's like, oh yes, here's some more, here's some more, here's some more, here's some more. Lots and lots and lots of treats. Jupiter is just kind of that all kind of expansive giving energy, which can be both good and a bad thing, as with all things. It also rules long distance and foreign travel, big business, wealth, higher education, religion, and law. So there's a little bit of strictness to Jupiter here and there. Not very much. In a natal chart, it shows how inquisitive we are and where we go for answers, and how invested we are in learning, religion, and long travel. It compels us to assess our ethical and moral values and helps our optimism and success. So, Jupiter's a fun planet. I mean, when you go looking at it, it seems like there's a lot of kind of the similar stuff. I mean, you'll find that with most planets. They tend to be a specific sort of energy, an archetypal energy. Like, Venus is all about love, but it's also about possessions and your stuff. Mercury is all about the mind, thinking, short travel, communication. Jupiter tends to be, once you get to Mars and beyond, they tend to start only putting so much on each of the planets, which kind of sucks. But if you do actually dig into it, just the fact that it's not only all this great beneficial stuff, there's also, it deals with wealth, with higher education, with religion and the law. It's we're not just the kindly old grandfather sending candy everywhere, we're also the professor in college teaching you all these things, and the student who wants to learn more and more and more. So it does have more than one layer to it, just like most things do. Alright, so that is Jupiter, my favorite. It's actually my ruling planet, is Jupiter. Alright, so moving from Jupiter into our herb of the episode is anise. It's pronounced a couple different ways. I'm probably going to go with, I'm probably going to switch between the two, to be honest, because I tend to do that. So anise botanical name is Pimpinella anisum of the Apiaceae family. Blech. I can totally speak. Alright, Pimpinella. It's such a fun name. Alright, it is a flowering plant native to the eastern Mediterranean region and Southwest Asia. Anise derived via Old French from Latin anisum or Greek anison, which was referring to dill. It is a herbaceous annual, which means you have to replant it every year. It grows to 3 feet or more. It has white or yellow flowers and an oblong seed, which is usually called aniseed. It is a food plant for some butterflies and moths. It was first cultivated in Egypt and the Middle East, and then was brought to Europe for medicinal uses. It is used primarily for cooking and liqueur. It has a distinctive licorice flavor. It is definitely the main ingredient in black licorice, which is actually genetic. It depends on your genetics whether you do not like black licorice, which is fascinating. Especially since I don't like the taste of black licorice, and too much anise can drive me nuts, but I do like a little bit, especially like in mulled wines. So freaking good, especially mixed with all the other spices, and the fact that it's very sweet wine. So it's also good. Somebody brought into work a while back chocolate chip cookies and biscotti, both flavored with anise. A little too much. The cookies weren't bad. I could still eat those. Like, one dude cannot handle black licorice, couldn't eat them. But the cookies I could eat, but also they're chocolate chip and they're cookies. I love cookies. So not much you can do to ruin a cookie for me. You can still do some stuff. Don't take that as a challenge. But yeah, not a whole lot. However, the biscotti, it was good, but it was overpowering. It was like me and trying to eat a piece of candy with mint in it when they put like a candy York. Like a York peppermint patty. Can't do it. Too much. Way too much. But the biscotti had too much and really shouldn't have been flavored with anise anyway. I could only eat half of it before I was like, I'm going to throw up if I eat any more of this. We're tossing it. Okay. So, anise kind of needs moderation. But it's still good. And also it comes in these little star shapes. The seed pods do, and that's just really freaking cool looking, which is why it also gets used a lot as decoration during the holidays, or during the winter holidays, excuse me, is along with cloves and stuff. It smells good. It's got, if you just got the smell going, like if you put it in like a simmer pot mixed with other things, or in wine with mulled wine with other things, it tastes fucking amazing, smells great. So that's what it's primarily used for, and it is also used as part of a liqueur. Medicinally, it has a long history of being used for digestive upsets and flatulence. So if you've like me and you've got a little lactose intolerance, I should try this. Drink some tea with a little anise in it. Might help. All right. I keep losing my spot. Its ability to decrease bloating and settle the digestive tract is still used today, actually. In high doses, it's also used as an antispasmodic and antiseptic, and for the treatment of cough, asthma, and bronchitis. As soon as I read this stuff, I texted my sister because she's got chronic bronchitis and she's still getting over a little bit of the last of it. She went and gave it to me too, which hadn't happened in like 4 years, so I was very upset. I need to actually, now that I'm thinking about it, probably drink my own anise tea. Haven't done that. Research reveals no clinical data in using anise as an expectorant or as an antimicrobial. So basically what this is all saying, and disclaimer, of course, as usual, do not take anything on here as medical advice. I am not a medical professional. I do witchcraft. I do tarot. I don't fucking do chemical research on medicinal herbs. I am not an herbalist. So, always with that disclaimer. Always got to remember to put that in there. All right, but anyway, what this is basically saying, from what I can get from it, is there has been clinical research on anise, and it has not shown to have any expectorant. You know, when it actually brings up mucus and stuff, when you're coughing, that's expectorant. Basically, Mucinex. Think Mucinex. Mucinex is an expectorant. It causes you to cough up the mucus and dries you out. So the mucus production doesn't happen as much. Like, the overabundance of mucus production doesn't happen. That's an expectorant. It gets rid of things. Antimicrobial, well, that's fairly obvious. Getting rid of, killing off bad microbes, basically. Clinical research has not shown any actual data that that's an actual thing for any seed. However, it is still used today as a to decrease bloating and settle the digestive tract. And it is in high doses used to help with asthma, cough, bronchitis, all that. Now, that's basically all of that is kind of an herbal folklore / it works. It just hasn't shown use in any clinical trials, which means they'll probably never synthesize it down to one specific thing and make it into a drug is all. So it's probably it's got to be used in a multitude of compounds or something. Do some research on it if you're curious. I might do some more, but usually this is about the level I get, and then I'll try something, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't care. But I'm not a medical practitioner or an herbalist, so yeah. And I tend to also be healthy as a horse most of the time, knock on wood. Alright, so now the other parts of this, some of its chemicals the big, careful warning labels type stuff is some of its chemicals may have estrogen-like properties. So, it is a reputed abortificant. So, excessive use is not recommended during pregnancy. Be cautious while breastfeeding, be cautious while breastfeeding or on the pill. So although it is said to relieve menstrual pain, especially when combined with saffron and celery seed. So if you got cramps while you're on your period, maybe see what you can find about mixing up anise, saffron, and celery seed. What does that do? What can you use it? If you're on medications, always do your research on your herbs. Talk to your doctor and stuff. All the usual safety protocol, common sense shit. We all know this shit type deal. And if you don't, now you do. But basically, because anise does have properties that can mimic estrogen, and chemicals that can mimic estrogen, which means they can be used to prematurely end in pregnancy. And if you don't want that, if you are ever looking for that, talk to your doctor. Especially if you live in somewhere where it's you can't actually get an abortion. Talk to people, talk to medical professionals. You will find someone that will be able to help you. Seriously. Alright, just, what is the other thing? Oh, yeah. And if you're breastfeeding or if you're pregnant and trying to keep the pregnancy, maybe dial back on the dosages. Just use your common sense, people. Use your common sense. We all have it. We just like to pretend it's not there. Or, well, not always that. Just sometimes we either like to pretend it's not there or we just don't exercise it enough. So give your common sense some exercise. It's good for you. Alright, so magically, it is used to aid in love spells, purification, and protection. Those are the basics. You can use it to help call in spirits, entice spirits to helping you with magic and ritual. You can use it to ward off evil when you place it in a circle. If you're doing a ritual and you put it in a circle, you can use that as a protective boundary. It is also used to help enhance psychic awareness or to help in the construction or enhancement of psychic shields, and it helps ward off the evil eye too, protective wise. It can also be used to help with legal matters. It's ruled by Jupiter. It's a day energy, so it's very active out there stuff. It's associated with the element of air. It's also used to help, it's used to aid in a peaceful sleep, which is basically it helps ward off nightmares and such. That is anise. Alright, moving on. Alright, so our crystal of the month is Lepidolite, which is a rare lithium-rich, it is actually the most abundant source of lithium, mica mineral that is usually pink, red, or purple in color thanks to the manganese present in it. It is found only in geochemical environments where high concentrations of lithium are available for mineral formation. Alright, so lithium is very small and doesn't readily substitute in other minerals. So basically it has to be in the right place and time and specific pressure and stuff for the lithium to actually like push itself into the mica and manganese and mix and actually form a crystal. And lepidolite was actually most commonly mined for lithium. It has a hardness of about 2.5 to 4 on the Mohs scale. It often occurs in masses around pink tourmaline. It has a layered structure of aluminium silicate sheet, and it's very weakly bonded together by potassium ions, which is all to say that sunlight will fade it and water will dissolve it. So if you got lepidolite, probably keep it. If you've got a tumbled piece, it's going to stay together a little bit better, but putting it in any water will start it breaking down. So if you're trying to do a charged crystal water like you would with selenite, just put it next to the glass, not in the glass of water. Another thing you can do, which somebody brought up, is if you take your water and you put it in one container and then you place that container inside another container, like a bowl or something, or a bigger jar, and then you put your crystals inside that outer container. That way you're not like just kind of like you've got the glass of water on the counter and the stones around it, and it's like maybe it'll go towards it. If you put it in another container, it's like all of this is contained and it's going directed inwards into the water specifically. It's gets a better energy flow instead of just kind of like scattered out. It's like, no, we're actually kind of directing this a little bit. Or heck, if you put it in a mirror thing, then you're definitely directing it. So you can put it in a metal bowl and then it would be reflective, and then it's basically anything that reflects outward is going to be bounced back inwards into the glass you're trying to, I keep hitting my mic, sorry, into the actual glass that you're trying, with the water you're trying to charge with the crystals. So, but all in that, don't put it in water because it will slowly dissolve. And sunlight will fade it. Thank you, manganese, for doing that. Alright. So the name lepidolite comes from the Greek lepis, which means scale, due to its texture or scaly nature. Metaphysical properties, it has a very calming and soothing nature. Just looking at pictures of this stuff, I'm like, whoo. I actually went and, while I was researching this, our local shop, Strega, has lepidolite, and I went and picked some up. I'm like, oh yeah, this is very, very, very calm. It soothes anxiety and depression, mood swings, stress, self-criticism, addictions, worrying, anything that's kind of got you like, it's gonna soothe and calm. Like, it's a very, very calm down stone. It's a very down stone. I almost think it might be a little bit too much for me and my depression, but that's just me. I'd have to actually work with it and decide off on that. It is a stone of transition. It helps you to move through obsessive thoughts and despondency and addictions. It's very, very gently towards health. So basically, if you've got some unhealthy stuff that just like, say if you've got an anxiety tic where you pull your hair, you pick your skin, or you chew your fingernails or whatever. If you've got bad habits from anxiety or stress or something, if you've got lepidolite, it helps not only keep that calm, but also helps you like stop doing that a little bit. It helps like calm the habits and the actions down, so you're not. I might work with it. It'd be interesting. We'll see. But anyway, it's very, very calm. So it helps you move towards health. It encourages independence and prompts you to achieve goals. It's a very receptive energy. It's associated with water, Jupiter, Neptune, and Libra. Its powers or associations are peace, luck, and protection. It is It's basically a very powerful spiritual stone. It's a gentle healer. It cools fiery emotions, deep emotional healing and recognition. I'm just sitting here spouting out my keywords instead of bringing them into full sentences. Right. It's receptive energy. It's associated with water, Jupiter, Neptune, and Libra. It governs peace, luck, and protection. It's a very powerful spiritual healer. Very powerful spiritual stone. It's a very gentle healer. It helps to cool more fiery emotions. So if you're all feeling all worked up, get some Lepidolite, and it's a very calm stone. Like, seriously, I might actually just get some. It helps with deep emotional healing and recognition of old psychological and behavioral patterns. So like I was talking with the pulling your hair, picking your skin, chewing your nails, chewing your cuticles even. Or if you just if you got nervous tics type deal. It helps soothe it and calm it down and help gently induces change to better habits, more healthy, much more healthy, calm outlook and just energy, mood. It's a very soothing stone. Like I said, I picked some up in Strega and I was like, whew, damn. This, I think I might pick some up. Alright, but that is Lepidolite. And with that is this entire episode. Rather short one, these ones tend to be. Might eventually lengthen them, I don't know, we'll see, but I tend to not have enough room on my paper for more. Well, I might have this time because I didn't do all the research. Again, thank you to my intern. Alright, but that is everything for today. I hope February is treating you well. I hope 2022 is treating you okay. I hope it's treating you better than the last couple of years, but who knows? We're all just off on the deep end. Alright, that is it for today. I hope you all have a great rest of your whatever, and I will see you next week for an exploration of the star. Alright, bye.